In the end, it finishes Barcelona 0. Leganes won. A huge upset then as Barcelona missed the chance to stretch 3 points between them and Atletico Madrid, who they face off against next week in the final game of 2024 in La Liga. What a clash that should be. Remember, Real Madrid could only manage a draw yesterday. They sit third, 1 point off everyone. For Leganes, they were flirting with relegation and still will be, of course, throughout the season, but a huge 3 points to them. That takes them up to 18th, or 18 points in the table. We welcome Luis Garcia into the show. We're here from Luis.
You know when you have the top of the league, right? You're still top of the league. Can it be a mini crisis?
Most definitely. 1 win in 6 now.
And I think we have a man in Spain.
Yeah.
Who's, I think maybe just getting a little bit worried now because Luis Garcia, because this has gone from Barcelona smooth, silky, you know, that front four. When we saw the team today, we were going, how the hell are Leganes going to stop this front four the way they've been playing? Didn't agree with taking Lewandowski off. We've seen some big calls this weekend. Arsenal taking off their best players when they needed a goal. Diego Simeone taking off Griezmann when they needed a goal. It worked for him. It didn't work for Arsenal. Lewandowski getting taken off, albeit he wasn't having his best game and his finishing was poor. But he's had those games before. He's missed chances before. And yet, over his career, most of the time, he's been there to pop up, bang, a winner. Yeah. Even when he's having a bad day. And Stuart Robson talked about it in commentary. When Torres comes on, they don't have that ability then to launch those crosses into the box. Ferran Torres is a guy who likes to play from a slightly wider position. So that was another strange decision from a manager taking big-time players off in a game that they didn't absolutely need to win, but they could have been doing with picking up the 3 points here to put a little gap to the others. The others have started to get better.
Yep.
Real Madrid, up and down a little bit, scoring big goals. But Atletico Madrid really have put a long string of wins together. They're in form going into this winter break in a week or two. And Barcelona have just gone from this team where Hansi Flick, just this smiling guy, everybody's playing well, even the kids are doing it, to Betis, to Las Palmas, to Real Sociedad, there was another draw in there somewhere, and then this loss to Leganes is just such a surprise, and it sucked everybody back in to this three-way tie, and I absolutely love it as a neutral.
Most definitely.
At the top of the Liga.
Yeah.
But that was tonight. That was a lesson in poor finishing. Exactly.
And it's exactly that, Luis, because normally our talk after a Barcelona defeat or drop points is the high line. They're getting exposed. You know, this had nothing to do with the high line for Barcelona. This was all about the fact that Dani Olmo, you had Rafinha, you had Lamine Yamal and Lewandowski all had an off day at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And even worse because we could see that in the first 45, but in the second half, we haven't seen anything. No ideas for Barcelona, just horizontal passes, just passing to each other, trying to break the lines or try to find the gap, but there was no gap. And we talked a little bit at halftime about playing in the wide areas, having players on the wide areas. I'm not talking about the fullbacks that can make diagonal, but someone who can cross. Rafinha goes to the right side because Lamine Yamal is coming out, and then all the crosses are going to be inside. If Fermin is on the right side, everything is going to come inside. A lot of problems to try to find space into the middle. Ferran Torres dropping down. Lamine Yamal, when he's out of the field, you bring another player who also is going to have the ball on his feet. No one was making the run. The only one today that I would say that it was probably the best player of Barcelona, Jules Koundé. They very quick understood that his runs was making a lot of difference, was making danger and a threat every single time, making that diagonal because he was a player wide open. A lot of problems, I think, that from Barcelona today to try to find the spaces and not even creating chances. I think it's a lesson that they need to learn because there is not only going to be Leganes, the one who have a low block. It's going to be many teams, and they need to find a way of breaking this defensive team together.
Luis, do you agree with Craig taking Lewandowski was a mistake given the setup of this game?
Massive mistake. In the last 5 minutes, they put Íñigo Martínez as a centre forward because they need someone who can header. If you even Araujo was on the bench, and they were mentioned that they will give him some minutes. Why not bring also Araujo in the last maybe 10 minutes if you need? You bring small players that all of them are doing exactly the same job, grabbing the ball, passing to each other, and trying to break those 4 or 5 players that they have into the middle. I think it was a massive mistake to take away Lewandowski. I don't know if he was feeling bad or if they want to rest him, but today it wasn't what it was needed. Today it was a must win to try to open a gap between Barcelona and the teams that are coming behind them.
Strikers have made careers, headlines on having stinkers and then popping up with an equaliser or a winner. I played with a bunch of them.
By the way, we'll see Nico Jackson later.
Oh,
and the chances that he had.
He missed some glaring ones and then scored the hardest one. But I played with guys who you were pulling your hair out with them during the game because you played the ball up to them from midfield. It was bouncing off them. They weren't making the right runs and they were missing chances. And then they pop up with a winner and they bail you out. That's why they get the big bucks. That's why they get the headlines in the back pages. And when you need to get these points at this stage in the season, you have to drag somebody else off. If you want to get Ferran Torres on for that bit of pace and that bit of directness, that's fine. But you have to manoeuvre it in a way where Lewandowski stays on the field in case something drops in the box. He's not overly fussed if he scuffed a few. I mean, we can sit and go, well, that wasn't for you, and that was poor. But he's seen it. He's seen that movie 100 times. And it's not going to deter him. The next time it drops is going to be the one. So that was another... As I said, we've seen it all weekend from some of these managers. I think overthinking it a little bit. You leave your most clinical man on the field.
I suppose it worked midweek. He took Lewandowski off, and Torres comes on, and then he's the star of the show in Germany, isn't he, in the Champions League?
Yeah, but here's the difference. Against Dortmund, there was a pile of room to run into behind, or it was certainly more than Leganes offered. They, as Luis was talking about, they dropped deep. There was no space in behind, so you've got to try and find a way around the wider areas. If you can't play any little 1-2s, you've got to stretch them a little bit, and then it's going to be about crosses in the box. Dortmund was slightly different because it was a pretty open game, and so therefore there was room for Ferran Torres to run into. When there's no room for you to run into, the only other thing you can do is strikes from 25 yards or crosses into the box. And when you need to do that, you have to have somebody in there who at least has a physical presence. Hence why you put Martinez up there at the end of the game.
That win against Real Madrid in El Clasico seems a very, very long time ago now. Since then, look at this run. As I mentioned, just 1 win in 6, and their results against teams that you really think Barcelona should be doing a lot better against, Luis. You think after that thrashing at the... You think, right, goodness me, Barcelona have got that momentum now to really kick on, and they could be home and hosed by after Christmas, but it really hasn't happened that way. It's gone in the complete opposite direction. Why?
Well, we're trying to think why this is happening right now to Barcelona, because they were in a fantastic run, they were confident, they were in a great momentum, like you just said, but this can change exactly the same way that Real Madrid had changed or that Atletico de Madrid had changed. They click in 1 second because we are talking about top teams. I think in the moment we talk about this system, this style of play that we haven't seen for quite a long time. It's a new style for Barcelona, for all the players that they are not used to. Most of the players that they are playing at this 11 of these 15 players that the Hansi Flick is using, they are used to play Barcelona style, Barcelona philosophy. Having the ball, keeping the ball, making wide, big the team, and then the talent of and the quality of them in the last there, they will make the difference. But it's true that these high lines have compressed everything. Everything that changed, the mentality needs to change. In the moment that you have 1 or 2 bad results, doubts start coming up. And remember, this is a very, very young talent. Once again, in the second half, we saw 7, 8 players. They are under 21. And that's something that affects them because we saw them that they are rushing up things. They don't have the calm and the composure that you need to have when these kind of moments. They can feel the pressure from the crowd. They can hear the whistle. They can see the boos. And then you get nervous and you don't have the clear idea of what you have to do in that moment. So that's something that is going to happen for the rest of the season because this team is still needs a lot of experience. But the way that we've seen this Barcelona is a good Barcelona. It's definitely at something different, but they get results. They need to manage these kind of moments. They need to manage when the things are not going right. Keep your head clear. Continue doing what you're doing the best, and in the end, the talent will be the one who makes the decisions.
You'd have given this to Hansi Flick before the start of the season. This position, he would have snapped your hands off.
Yeah, that's
You'd have said to Jordan Laporta, this is where the team will be. He would have did the same. If you'd have offered it to the supporters, they would all have said, yeah, we'll take that. Where the sort of negative connotations come in and anxiety, particularly from supporters, is that it looked at one point as if they were going to be getting into this winter break around Christmas time, and it could have been like a 7, 8 or a 9 point gap, which is a big sort of buffer to have going into the second part of the season.
I was calling them the best team in Europe.
When you would imagine you'd win the Champions League, which you know, you don't imagine Real Madrid are going to get stronger, which they have, not brilliant but stronger, and Atleti certainly have got stronger and have got consistency. And again today was looking at their squad, and we talked about it at the start of the season. There's no reason mentally Atleti shouldn't have been thinking we are in this, because they have the ability to rotate, and Julian Alvarez is sort of fitting in there now. So Barca, you know, they would have expected these teams to get better, but I think the disappointing thing from their perspective thus far is that they could easily have manoeuvred themselves in the last 5 or 6 games into a much more comfortable position, but they have not quite had the ability or nous or experience to do that, and that is going to make it a very, very nervy second half of the season.